Okay, so we are going to look at adding numbers with the same sign, with different signs, and then subtracting numbers. So adding numbers with the same sign. Add the absolute value of the numbers and keep the same sign. So absolute value means you are not going to look at positive or negative. So if I say absolute value of -5, these are the absolute value bars right here. It's like gelling it in. Well, whenever you gel it in, you don't keep the negative. You only have a positive. Like the -9 is only going to keep the positive. If you have a positive number, absolute value of 2 is just going to equal 2. It's just going to continue to be positive. So we are just going to add the absolute value of the number and keep the same sign. So we have -5 plus -9. So that means I'm just going to add 9 plus 5. And that equals 14. So I add the numbers and keep the same sign. So what do they share in common? They both have a negative. So my answer to -5 plus a -9 is a -14. So now we're going to do the next one. 3.4 plus 9.7. So if you recall, whenever you add decimals, because these are decimals, we will line up the decimal. So I'm going to do 3.4 plus 9.7. These are both positive, so I'm going to add the absolute value, which is just their positive, and keep the same sign. So 4 plus 7 is 11. Carry the 1. 9 plus 3 is 12, plus 1 more is 13. And I keep the decimal in the same spot. And this is just going to be a positive, 13.1. Okay, the next one we have -13 plus a -34. So they are the same sign, so they're both negative. So we are just going to add 13 plus 34. So 3 plus 4 is 7. 1 plus 3 is 4. And we are going to keep that negative. So this is a -47. Okay, so now let's go to adding numbers with different signs. So if they are different, you are going to now subtract the absolute value of the numbers and keep the sign of the larger number. So in this case, we have a -2 plus 6. We're adding numbers, but they have different signs. So we have a 2 and a 6. So that means we are going to subtract them first, subtract the absolute value. We're not going to worry about this negative till the end. So we are just going to do 6 minus 2. And 6 minus 2 is 4. And then you keep the sign of the larger number. So which one's the larger number? 6 is. And so we are going to put +4 is our answer. Okay, the next one, 3/4 plus a -2/3. Okay, so if you don't remember how to do fractions, you got to make sure that you get a common denominator. So we have 4 and 3 are our denominators. So we need to see what would be a common denominator for 4 and 3. Well, if you think about the multiples of 4, 4, 8, 16, no, 4, 8, 12, 16, and so on. 3 is 3, 6, 9, 12. So it looks like our denominator will be 12. So I'm going to multiply 4 times 3. Whatever I do on the bottom, I have to do on the top. So now that is a 9/12 plus In order to change this 3 to a 12, I'm going to have to multiply times 4, top and bottom. Plus, I'm going to put a negative 8 over 12. Okay, so we still have two numbers that are of different signs. So we look at the denominator doesn't matter anymore because whenever you add fractions, you only add the numerator. So 12 is just going to stay on the bottom. So we only have to look at this 9 and this negative 8. So it says subtract the absolute value, so that means 9 minus 8, which is 1, and keep the sign of the larger digit. So we have 9 and 8. 9 is the larger one, so that's a positive. So that is a positive 1 over 12. The next one is negative 26.3 plus 8.9. So different signs means we will subtract. I'm going to do it over here just because I have a little bit more room. So with decimals, you have to line them up. It says we're going to subtract. So 3 minus 9. Can't do that, so I'm going to have to borrow. So this becomes a 5. This becomes a 13. So 13 minus 9 is 4. 5 minus 8. Can't do that. I'm going to borrow, so that makes that a 1. 15. 15 minus 8 is a 7. And then we need 1 minus 0 is 1. And then carry the decimal down. Okay, and then we look at the two numbers. Which one's bigger, 26.3 or 8.9? 26.3 is. So that means my answer is going to be a negative 17.4. Okay, so let's keep on going. Okay. So we are doing subtracting numbers. So in order to subtract numbers, it says keep the sign of the first number, change the sign of the second number, and add the numbers. So if I have 5 minus 7. So I'm going to keep the sign of the first, change the sign of the second number, so that's going to become a negative, and add. So it's 5 plus a negative 7. So now we just follow the rules for adding numbers with different signs. So 5 and 7, so I'm going to subtract them. What is 7 minus 5? It's 2. And I'm going to keep the sign of the larger number. So 7 is the larger of the two, of 5 and 7. So I'm going to keep this negative. So it's a negative 2 as my answer. Okay, you can also remember that if you have a double negative, then you can't have a double negative. So I'll show you what to do there. Okay, so we have a negative 4 minus a negative 9. So you can do a couple of things. It says keep the sign of the first number, change the sign of the second, and add the numbers. So keep the sign of the first, change the sign of the second. So this is negative, now it's going to become positive. And then add them. So now we have negative 4 plus 9. They are different signs, so we'll subtract. 9 minus 4. 9 minus 4 is 5. And we'll keep the sign of the larger number. So we have a negative, we have a 9 and a 4. The 9 is bigger, so we are going to keep that sign. So it's positive 5. Okay, another way to look at this, negative 4 minus a negative 9. Is, do y'all remember that Little Caesars, the commercial that said pizza, pizza? Well, anytime you see a double negative, a minus a negative, then you can do pizza, pizza. Remember, he would get the little spear and he would slam it on the ground 2 times. So I'm going to get my sphere. Anytime it's two negatives, pizza, pizza. I did the exact same thing I did up here, but all I remembered was two negatives. I do pizza, pizza. So if you want to write that, pizza, pizza. So you don't forget. So two negatives minus a negative, you do pizza, pizza. And then we do the same thing, -4 plus 9. You subtract on 9 minus 4 and keep the sign of the larger, which is the 9. Okay, this next one, it's the same example as the previous, so we're going to skip that. We're going to go on to the next one. So I have a -8/9 minus a -5/6. So first off, what do you see? Double negative. Any double negative, pizza, pizza. So now it's -8/9 plus 5/6. I need a common denominator. So I'm going to look at 9 and 6 and see what can they both be multiplied to get. Well, 9 and 9 make 18. 6, 12, 18. So it looks like 18 can be my common denominator. So I'm going to multiply by 2 on the 9. And whenever I get that, I get -16/18 plus, I don't have to do plus again. This 6 will need to be multiplied by something to get 18. And it turns out it's 3. So that'd be 15/18. Okay, so now I have a common denominator. So I'm just going to carry that common denominator over. And I see -16 plus 15. Those are different signs, so I'll subtract them. That's 16 minus 15. It is 1. But I keep the sign of the larger digit. 16 or 15 is larger. 16 is, so it's a negative. So my answer is going to be a -1/18. Okay, make sure that you glue this in your journal. Once you glue it in your journal, you have some practice problems to do. Adding and subtracting rational numbers. You'll put both of these in your journal. And the answer key for this is in the DIY crate, so make sure to check that out. Thank you.